Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take complex documents, like executive orders, and try to make them instantly understandable. Today, we are unpacking Executive Order 14189. It was signed back on January 29, 2025.
Right.
And it's got this, well, very grand title, Celebrating America's 250th Birthday.
Yeah, and a deep dive is definitely needed here because, I mean, this isn't just a simple party planning memo, right?
Oh, not at all.
It's actually a pretty complex presidential action, several actions, really, all packed into one document.
Okay.
The EO itself spells out its purpose pretty clearly. It says it wants to ensure a, quote, grand celebration worthy of the momentous occasion.
For July 4th, 2026.
Exactly, the 250th anniversary. But then it adds a second goal to, quote, take other actions to honor the history of our great nation.
Okay, so let's unpack that. We're going to
Yeah.
break down what seems like three distinct areas here.
Mm-hmm.
First, the huge organization needed for the celebration itself. Second, bringing back a specific national monument project.
The Garden of Heroes.
Right. And third, some new security mandates that seem tied pretty directly to recent events.
Yeah.
So our mission for you, the listener, is really to give you a clear, nonpartisan look at what the fine print actually says and does.
Let's do it.
Okay, so starting with the celebration planning, Section 2 kicks things off by establishing the main group responsible. It's the White House Task Force on Celebrating America's 250th Birthday. Let's just call it Task Force 250.
Good plan. Saves a mouthful.
Yeah. And their job is basically to make sure this 250th anniversary, which I learned, is officially called the semi-quincentennial.
Right, the semi-quincentennial, that's the one. Quite a word.
It is. Anyway, their job is to make sure it's an extraordinary celebration. That's the language used.
And that word, semi-quincentennial, it just means 250th. But yeah, it points to this huge fixed deadline in 2026.
Right.
And the structure they picked is really important here. You've got the president as chair, the VP as vice chair. Standard enough, but the actual day-to-day running of things, that's delegated to an executive director.
Oh, okay.
And that person reports up through the assistant to the president for domestic policy. So it's pretty centralized, high priority, clearly.
In the membership list, I found that really interesting. It kind of tells you what kind of celebration they're thinking about.
Yeah, who's actually on the task force?
Well, you've got the core cabinet members you'd expect. Defense, Treasury, State, Interior,
the big players.
Education, Agriculture, HUD. But then they also include cultural figures.
Who?
The chairs of the National Endowment for the Humanities and the Arts, and the director of the Institute of Museum and Library Services.
Ah, okay. That mix is crucial, I think.
Why is that?
Well, it shows this isn't just about logistics like parades and fireworks, right?
Right.
It means they want the historical and cultural meaning, the why of the 250th, sort of baked into the plan from the get-go.
That makes sense. Bringing in the history and arts people.
Exactly. The folks who manage national memory and cultural funding are right there with the logistical heavy hitters. They even have to consult with the existing U.S. Semi-Quincentennial Commission for advice.
Got it. Now, here's where the admin details get kind of interesting, maybe a bit surprising.
Oh, yeah.
For funding and support, Task Force 250 is administratively housed within the Department of Defense.
Defense. Huh. Okay. Why defense? That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems a bit odd, a cultural celebration run out of the Pentagon, essentially.
Well, maybe not run out of the Pentagon, but supported by it. At first glance, yeah, it seems odd. But often this stuff comes down to, like, administrative efficiency and funding stability.
Okay.
The DoD has a massive infrastructure. They often have, let's say, more flexibility than other agencies might, especially for something big, time-sensitive, and needing nationwide logistics.
It's about getting it done fast and reliably.
That would be my guess. It suggests the president prioritize getting it on solid administrative footing quickly, maybe over finding a more, culturally intuitive home like Interior or the National Archives. Practicality over appearances, perhaps.
And the timeline certainly reflects that urgency. Agencies have to report their plans to the executive director by March 1st, 2025.
Whoa.
That's barely a month after the EO was signed.
Exactly. Wow. The clock is definitely ticking loudly.
Yeah.
And we know the end date, too. The task force is set to terminate December 31st, 2026, unless it gets extended, of course.
It's a temporary thing. Get in, plan the party, execute, get out.
Pretty much. A high-impact body for a specific event, then dissolve.
Okay, let's shift gears now. We're moving from the immediate party planning to longer-term projects, and things about national memory.
Right.
Section 3 of this EO deals specifically with the National Garden of American Heroes.
Yeah, and this part, Section 3, it's actually a pretty complex bit of policy maneuvering if you look closely. It's basically undoing a previous administration's decision to undo an earlier administration's policy.
Okay, layers upon layers.
Exactly. It resurrects the original plan from two older executive orders, one from July 2020, another from January 2021. Those orders created this garden idea. Then a later order, EO 1029 from May 2021, effectively paused or reversed that. This new EO specifically reverses that reversal.
Got it. So lots of EO numbers flying around, but the bottom line for the listener is pretty simple.
I think so.
The garden project, which was sort of on hold, is now officially back on the table.
Yes.
With its original 2020 structure intact.
Yeah.
And this new EO uses the 250th anniversary as a reason to, well, expand it.
Exactly right. That's the forward-looking part. The order explicitly tells the Assistant to the President for Domestic Policy to recommend more historically significant Americans for the garden, with a very specific goal. Bring the total number of heroes in the garden to exactly 250.
250 heroes for the 250th anniversary. Makes sense.
It ties the garden directly to the celebration, makes it a physical marker of the anniversary itself.
But what about the practical side? I mean, building a garden with potentially 250 statues? That takes time, right?
A lot of time.
The original 2020 order, EO 13934, had a really ambitious deadline for completion before July 4, 2026.
Yeah, that seemed optimistic even then.
So what happened to that date in this new order?
Well, this is where EO 14189 shows a bit of, let's call it, practical adjustment. It amends that original timeline. It takes out the rigid July 2026 deadline. Instead, it says construction should be completed as expeditiously as possible.
The classic government phrase.
Right. It's basically the legal way of saying, look, we know major construction projects rarely hit exact multi-year deadlines set years in advance, but we still want it done quickly. It gives them needed flexibility, but still signals urgency.
That flexibility is probably essential for something of that scale. Okay. So that's the garden. Now we move to the third major piece. And here the EO shifts again from honoring the past to actively protecting it.
Right. Section 4 is about monument protection and linked to that, national security issues.
And how does it do that?
It reinstates another 2020 executive order. This one is EO 13933 from June 2020. Its title was Protecting American Monuments, Memorials, and Statues and Combating Recent Criminal Violence.
So another direct reversal of that May 2021 order, EO 13299.
Exactly. That 2021 order had revoked this one too. So this brings the 2020 monument protection rules back into force.
What's really striking here, though, is how the order justifies bringing this back.
Yeah, it doesn't just talk about abstract threats, does it?
No, it gets very specific. It uses documented real-world events to explain why this security policy is supposedly necessary right now.
What does it say?
It explicitly notes the need to address, quote, recent examples of conduct necessitating reinstatement.
Okay.
And then it details incidents that happened in the months after October 7, 2023.
And it links these incidents.
Well, the order cites instances of what it specifically calls pro-Hamas-related vandalism of historically significant public monuments and related assaults on federal officers and employees.
Okay, so it's directly linking specific political viewpoints, as the EO frames them, to acts of vandalism and assault.
Yes. And again, just reporting what the order says, it names specific dates and places. It's not vague.
Right, like what?
For instance, it mentions vandalism on the outside of the Department of the Treasury building and damage to statues in Lafayette Square in D.C. It gives the date, June 8th, 2024.
Okay, that's quite specific.
And then just over a month later, July 24, 2024, the order talks about assaults on federal officers.
Right.
And vandalism at Union Station in D.C., specifically mentioning the Christopher Columbus Memorial Fountain and the Freedom Bell there.
Wow. So these aren't just general concerns about protecting monuments.
It doesn't seem like it.
It's framing the reinstatement of this security policy as a direct response to very specific, named, recent incidents involving civil unrest and property damage. Incidents the president is clearly using to justify this policy decision.
Right. So the whole idea of monument protection here feels explicitly tied not just to, general preservation, but as an official direct response to what the EO describes as political violence against landmarks.
Yeah.
The order basically says we can't celebrate our history properly in 2026 if we don't immediately protect the physical symbols of that history from these specific threats happening now.
That connection is absolutely key, I think.
How so?
It links the sort of long-term uplifting cultural planning for 2026
Right, the big celebration.
directly to immediate, very pressing security concerns. Concerns driven by current events and geopolitical tensions that are playing out, according to this EO, on American streets.
Yeah, that's a powerful linkage. And then the order wraps up with the usual stuff, right?
Yeah, the standard boilerplate, pretty much. It says the EO has to be implemented subject to appropriations, meaning Congress has to actually provide the money.
Always important.
And consistent with applicable law. And then the standard disclaimer. This order doesn't create any new private legal rights. You can't sue the government based on this EO itself.
Right. That's always in there. Directs the government,
Yeah.
not necessarily empowers citizens legally.
Exactly. It tells the massive machinery of government what to do. It rarely creates new grounds for private lawsuits.
Okay, so let's try to pull this all together. What does Executive Order 14189 actually do?
Well, it's doing a lot simultaneously. It's quite a package.
It seems like it. First, it launches this huge organizational effort, Task Force 250, for the big birthday bash in 2026.
Right. The party planning committee writ large.
Second, it resurrects and expands a specific historical project, the National Garden of American Heroes, aiming for that symbolic 250 statues.
Reversing a previous policy to do so.
And third, it reinstates a security policy, also reversing a previous policy. And it justifies this by pointing directly to specific named incidents of vandalism and assaults from the summer of 2024.
That's a good summary. I think the really fascinating takeaway isn't just what the president is doing here about, plan a party, build a garden, boost security.
Right.
It's how these things, which seem pretty different on the surface, are all bundled together into this single policy document.
Yeah.
I mean, this EO feels like a masterclass in blending that long-term cultural vision, planning a celebration 2 years out, with very immediate real-time security worries.
Connecting the birthday to current events.
Exactly. It demonstrates that, at least for this administration, celebrating America's 250th birthday is fundamentally linked to protecting and maybe defending historical memory against what it sees as current political challenges and threats. The celebration and the security are presented as two sides of the same coin.
Interesting perspective. Okay, well, we hope this deep dive has given you, the listener, some real clarity on the organization, the policy reversals, and maybe the broader context behind this executive order.
Yeah, hopefully cutting through some of the complexity.
Keep digging, keep questioning, and thank you for joining us.